This is Katie Manning, and you're listening to Traveling the Vortex. Sounds like fun. I think I'll do that.
Traveling the Vortex. Side trip.
We've joined the Doctor and landed at Gallifrey 1. I don't remember what this one's called. I'm Shaun.
I'm Mel.
I'm Michelle.
Hello, everyone. Awkward.
Look at this.
I'm rusty. I haven't done this in a year. So, today was day one of Gallifrey. 25 glorious years?
25 glorious.
25 glorious years. And Michelle is joining us. Michelle from Canada.
Hi.
Ontario, not Vancouver. Which I knew, but I just keep mentally moving her in the confines of the country. So
Vancouver's very far away from me.
I know it's very, very far away from you, but for some reason my head just goes, nah, you live here. So this was your first galley trip.
Very first.
And what were your impressions first day?
It was really interesting.
We started the day with the Glorious panel.
The Glorious, which the opening ceremonies ish.
Actually, technically, we started with getting her badge this morning.
Yes. We started getting my badge. My first,
Since she flew in late.
3 ribbons before I even got my badge.
Our thanks to Jerry and Megan, who had ribbons.
Oh, yeah.
And provided her before she had ours and theirs. Before she even had a badge, she had ribbons for her badge.
So my first badge is the Traveling the Vortex badge because I got it first.
Aww. It's quite awesome if I say so myself.
So.
And you got to see the Glenn Bartlett Memorial Burger King booth. Sorry, Glenn, had to point that one out. And then we did the Glorious. And I have to admit, I didn't realize that there was as much history to Gallifrey as what they laid out. The fact that their first con went miserably,
$15,000
in debt con, and they had to hold another one just to kind of keep to try and recoup some of that money. So that it was really kind of born out of necessity. That was really interesting.
That con was only a few weeks after I was born. That first one, May 1990, was only a few weeks. So it was like right in between when me and Brittany were born.
So we're also celebrating 25 glorious years for you then?
Well,
almost.
Because I'm turning 24 in May, so I don't really get the math.
How does that work?
Gallifrey 1 and me started the same year, the same month, and yet it turned 25 and
you're
I'm
turning
24.
Were you sick a year?
I was trying to look through the in the program to see like how that
what the math was.
What's the math on that?
Maybe they snuck an extra con.
I was going to say maybe they got an extra con in one year.
We have to go through our program books and read
Yeah, I know.
I'm kind of thinking we need to get Shaun on the program because he sounded very, just the history of Gallifrey. I think would be an interesting podcast to do. But
90.
Now, Mel, this was obviously your third now.
Third.
What were your kind of perceptions on the day?
I think the math is that they started with 2 in 91. So it's like 2. So the second they started number 2 the year I turned 1. And then 1, 2. So then it was like 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4.
Oh, I know why. It's because you don't count your first year. Their first year is 1. Your first year is 0.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Yeah,
Boy, we spent way too much time on that.
It's
Traveling the Vortex, where math is not our strong suit.
Yeah.
So.
Because I noticed that, because the first one was in 1990, which ends in a 0, but it was 1 for them.
Yeah.
So.
That makes sense.
Okay. Now
you can feel better about it.
the math makes sense now.
Yeah, this was our third year coming to it, and I wouldn't call myself a pro, but I'm a lot more comfortable than what we were 2 years ago coming.
Yeah.
And they switched things up this year, though. They didn't do opening ceremonies and Gallifrey 101. They kind of put those two panels together, and that's what they called Glorious.
Just glorious.
Glorious. This year, they called that panel this year. And Shaun kind of gave everybody an overview of, and they had the whole crew up there, or most of the crew up there that kind of runs Gallifrey, or Galley, and it was interesting to hear the history.
Yeah, that was really interesting. You, maybe I'm wrong, you seem to be getting a little emotional during some of that. That when Radio Free Sparrow came out and started talking to Colin, I would kind of glance over at you, and you seem to be doing a lot of covering your eyes. Is that?
It's exciting being here, actually being here, right? Because like I've only ever heard you guys like your
Tales of it.
you're talking about it on the podcast, and now I'm actually here. I'm actually experiencing it and being like.
It's too much.
Is it different than what we described?
I don't know if it's that. It's just actually being here in person, experiencing it for myself rather than secondhand through a podcast.
Yeah.
Right?
And I gotta say, there's a lot of new people this year. I mean, there's a few people that we totally recognize from being here for the third time, but there's a lot of new faces.
Well, when I forget his name, Director of Operations, he asked how many people have you used as your first galley. I would say a full third, if not half of the room had their hands up.
He said, "Keep your hands up," and
Well,
took
I
a
was taking
picture.
a picture.
Yeah, he took a
Took a
picture.
picture of all of us.
Yep.
You know, so I mean, I think that's I think it's cool that you've got some of the quote unquote core people who have been coming, but then you're still getting that influx of new people who manage to get their tickets and get in and be able to experience it like you. I mean, I think that's great.
Yeah.
So then we sat in on Radio Free Sparrow, our competition. No, they're not competition. They're far superior. Thanks, hon.
Sorry. Nothing against you guys.
Star was a totally different podcast.
Yeah.
They are the 800-pound gorilla of Doctor Who podcasts. First of all, I mean they've been around forever, and I have nothing but respect for these guys. I totally just geek out on the fact that they do what they do, and they do it so well and so much better than us. That just absolutely they are the official podcast. Of course they are. They could nobody else could be. So
like they're the official podcast of Galley, and Galley's kind of the official convention of the show, like other than the BBC run ones.
And who was it that said? Was it Colin Baker or who? One of the guests up there on the panels that we were at said that. It was one of the three.
It was Paul Cornell, I think.
Yeah, Paul Cornell was. He mentioned and said that Gallifrey is the Doctor Who convention that people talk about. He said the event. He didn't say a event. He said the event. I mean,
the event of the Doctor Who fandom.
He says when you're talking about going to a Doctor Who convention, you're talking about Galley. This one, Galley 1. And they even like the hashtag is, and he was telling us, one of them, the other ones is, you tweet about this to send pictures, and here's the hashtag.
Which sounded like he came up with.
Yeah.
It was his hashtag, so it's cool. So then you got your first glimpse of Colin. Now, this is not your first glimpse of Colin, obviously, because you met Colin way before.
I first met Colin back in August, and but I remember, like, my first time, they had the celebrities in as artists, in a signing area on the show floor. Because they had in the North building, they had two big show floors, and so in the North building, and when you come across from the South building, you come there's a hallway, and you can see down onto the show floor. So you can see from the hallway, you can see all of the celebrities in their area and stuff.
So you got your picture taken with him and his autograph then.
So the first time, I was down on the show floor and I saw him and he was at his table. I'm like, oh my god, it's Colin Baker. He's right there. And then got my photo with him on the first day, which was the Thursday, because it starts on Thursday and goes to Sunday. So I got him Thursday evening. I got the photo. I went after I picked up the physical copy. I went straight to his table, got him to sign that and the picture of the 11 doctors that I have. So got those signed. So that was out. Got that out of the way.
So how did this compare with that? I mean, obviously that was a personal experience being able to meet him, and this is him on stage in front of 1,500 people.
Well, I also saw him on stage at that convention because he had a panel on Sunday, I believe it was, that I went to, where he read the Rings of Akaton speech, and I was like 2 seats away from the guy who gave it to him, and like I was 7 rows back. So being there for that was so cool.
Any different stories this time?
Well, there was the one that he told at Fan Expo that he didn't tell here, which was about filming Trial of a Time Lord, the scene where he comes up out of the desert and had to learn his lines. He had to learn his lines phonetically backwards so he could say it as he was being pulled down into this water tank. Because they filmed it where he's pulled back down into the water tank, and there were people below holding his ankles to make sure he didn't float up. And it took 3 takes, and he only had 4 costumes. So
A near thing.
So he told that one at Fan Expo, and that was really interesting.
Mel, what about you? This is your first experience with Old 60.
I gotta admit that I have a totally newfound respect for Colin Baker. Seeing him on panel and seeing him interact and talk with the crowd is just amazing. Just totally shocked on how he was, and I have total new respect for him and totally appreciative. And I can't call him pudgy face no more.
Not that you ever been at mean.
No, but he's never been one of my favorite doctors. But now,
But he's been through so much, and yet he's still so loyal.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what hearing him talk about it up there on stage and interact and meeting with him. Well, Shaun and I went to take his picture, the Froggy photos, the way they had it set up is you come in from the right and you get up onto the left or right of him. Well, Colin was distracted by something shiny on the left. So I came up upon him on his left, and about that time, Shaun came up on his right. So he turned right to see Shaun and thinking, this is the next person that I'm taking my picture with. And he wasn't paying me no attention. So I tapped him on his shoulder, and he kind of startled. He goes, wow, you just kind of popped up there, didn't you? Well, get on in here. We're taking 2 pictures, So
And then he did. He threw his arms around us.
Yep.
And I think maybe it's not quite this severe. I suspect just the little interaction that I've had with you is that your appreciation for Colin has grown after meeting him in the same way that Glenn's appreciation for McCoy.
And that's where I was going with it. Now, I'm not going to say that he's now my favorite doctor by any stretch of the imagination, but I really appreciate him more as the 6th Doctor, and I won't forget he's the 6th Doctor now, because I get 4, 5, or 5, 6, and 7, or which one? 5, 6, and 7 mixed up for some reason, and now he will always be in my heart and known as the 6th.
So you got that experience now.
Yes.
So we did that, and then we kind of got separated because you stayed around for the rest of the Radio Free Star panel.
Yeah, I stayed for the rest of the Radio Free, and then I went around the dealer's room for a bit, and then I went for a bit, from concept to screen, but then there was something else that I wanted to do, so I left that. I don't remember what it was, but yeah.
And we went and did our pictures with Colin, and then we also wound up in the dealer's room. So we must have just been kind of orbiting at different stations around.
Well,
there.
I was nearby when you were arranging the interview with John Levine.
Oh, in the dealer's room?
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yes, spoilers.
It's not a done deal yet, guys. Don't get too excited. But if you're listening to this,
he agreed for tomorrow at 1.
We are supposed to meet with Mr. John Levine. You heard it here. Benton is going to be on the podcast, so get your questions in now.
Quickly.
Quickly. Tonight if you can, because you can send them to me via tweet, and I won't get it. The signal in the Marriott is horrible.
Yeah. Okay.
Except for Miss AT&T here, who's having no problems
We've
whatsoever.
got to discuss that. Last 2 years, Shaun and I had Sprint service, and we're able to receive some text, not necessarily send, but we could definitely receive, and when you stepped outside, you could send. This year, we switched over to Verizon just right before we came here.
Not necessarily for this.
No, not for this.
Different reasons for doing that.
But I've got to say that, Verizon is worse than Sprint at Galley.
Now,
we did take a poll, kind of a, who do you have for service, and it's a resounding AT&T across the board.
Now, interestingly enough, according to one of the people that works here, we have it on fairly good authority that we believe that AT&T is the one that installed the cell tower on the building, on the roof of the building.
Oh.
So, for those of you thinking of coming to Galley,
AT&T
apparently would be the way to go, unless you want to be stepping outside every 5 minutes to update your tweet stream, which even outside mine wasn't doing it. So we're in a total dead zone, which is weird for that whole "can you hear me now" bit. It's no, I can't.
It was bad this year.
So that was frustrating. But yeah, if you have questions that you would like us to ask Ian. Ian Levine. John Levine. Get them to me quick, ASAP, and we'll see what we can come up with. So then Mel and I did most of our autograph hunting today. We got just about everybody knocked out that we wanted to, and felt pretty good about that. And once again, a great price list, I think, for the autograph hunter. I don't think anybody was really resoundingly outside of my price range, except for one that I'm still on the fence about. I'll probably talk more about that tomorrow, but... And you got, did you do any autographs today? Or
not today. Thought about it, but I'm thinking like at least the companions that are here, get them, at least, and Paul McGann, obviously.
Yeah.
You got to do Paul McGann again.
But I'm waiting till I get my photo op with him.
You gonna have him sign that photo?
Yeah, and the 11.
And the 11, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But you did some shopping. You have a lovely dress.
Yes, a lovely TARDIS dress that I'm wearing right now. It's got, it's weird because the police public call sign is below the windows.
Well, it acts like a belt. It breaks up the waistline.
The police public call line is the belt, and the free for use of public is a pocket.
Which is awesome on a dress.
Which is perfectly sized for my phone.
It looks... Now, obviously, you've all seen the TARDIS dress out there. You know, that one. And this one is different because of the fact that they've realigned it. I told them it kind of almost has an Alice in Wonderland quality to it. Because it's got blue shoulders and then white panels, kind of a blouse look.
Panels.
Yeah, it's just, I really like it. I think it's pretty sweet.
It's almost like a hoop skirt too. It's got the real round.
Yeah, it's got
is that foam or
I don't know. It's something firm
around the edge of it that kind of holds it out.
Around the edge, yeah.
It's kind of like one of those hoop skirts. Yeah.
Did you see anything else down there in the dealer's room that you were really eyeing over?
There were some things. They have the thick of it, all 4 seasons for $80.
Oh, for Capaldi?
Yeah. I'm considering that because I want to kind of, I want to see that and for Capaldi. So.
I'm sure you can get that.
And there was maybe, but well, because it's a British thing, so it's maybe not as available in North America. So this might be my one chance to pick up that. And there was like this the official dictionary, which is like a doctor dictionary, but it's like all like as if it was written by the doctor, and he's talking about various things.
No, I didn't see. That'd be kind of cool to read through or skim through.
I'm still stuck on the Genesis arc.
Oh.
They had, the one guy, he had a table full of Daleks, and they had
I
the
saw
Genesis
that.
arc thing, and I was like,
It was like
You could actually pull it apart and put a Dalek in there too.
yeah.
That was actually not far from the table where the.
Oh yeah, it was just around the corner from him.
It was the like if you're walking towards the doors, it was on your right, and so first the table with all the books, including and DVDs and whatever, and then the table with all the Daleks and the Genesis arc.
Well, I've got to say this year I'm totally impressed with the different pictures that are available. They've always had vendors or dealers in there that had, pictures of the different guests or, people in general for sale. And this year, the prints that we bought, a couple of the prints that we bought displaying the different doctors was, they had everybody from first to 11th doctor.
Did you see the fake money that they used for Runaway Bride that was available for sale?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, there was a it was like actually not far from by all the prints of all the people. They had it in a display case, and there was a one that was not relatively cheap, that it was just the banknote, and then there was a much more expensive one that was signed by David Tennant.
Yeah.
Very cool. So then we kind of wrapped up our con evening with a pair of panels over in the main programming room. We did
The companions.
Travels with the Doctor, which had
Victoria.
We had Victoria and Jamie. We had Captain Yates
And Joe.
and Joe.
Well, it was
And
Joe,
Joe.
then Captain
Yeah.
Yates.
Or Joe then Captain Yates.
And then
Perry.
and
Adric.
Adric, and Rose and Rory.
Rose and Rory. So we had companions from 4 different eras of Who. And I thought that was an entertaining panel. It was
Katie Minnie was a Who.
She I was by her table when she was signing in the dealer's room, and I saw her give hugs to a couple people, and she said she didn't get to hug. She wasn't allowed to hug people nearly enough.
Yep. She says, "I'm sorry, I'm a hugger and a kisser." That's
well,
okay.
And I think because from what I heard, her handler didn't like it when she hugged people across the table or something. So she said she wasn't allowed to. But I did see her hug a couple of people. So.
We got one.
Yeah.
I got it.
And then
And a kiss on the cheek, which was awesome.
Billy Piper showed up and was able to be on the panel, so that was awesome. And she had just gotten there a little earlier that afternoon. So.
There was some drama with that.
I also went to the Big Finish panel beforehand, which was interesting, with Paul McGann and Daphne Ashbrook and.
Was Katie part of that one too? Because I know
Paul
she's done
McGann,
some.
Tracy Childs, Chase Masters, and Jason Gallery, and Daphne Ashbrook also showed up. But she's not listed in the program, but she was there.
She's done some Big Finish.
She has done some Big Finish.
Well, she and Yiji are doing that from the vault. Is that the name of that one?
I think so. So, and they were at one point they mentioned that Big Finish is going to be 15 next year, and Paul Mia was like, "Will there be a party? Can we have a party?" So, and the answer was basically yes, there will be a party to celebrate Big Finish's 15th anniversary next year.
Nice.
Or this year.
Yeah, there was some drama with Billy. She apparently
this
was
year,
sick.
The Big Finish is this year. Paul McGann started Paul McGann's 15th will be with Big Finish will be next year, I think.
Wow. He's been there 15 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
He's had a really good working relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, he was excited when we got his autograph and reminded him that 2 years ago we got him to sign.
And he remembered. That was the
remembered it.
amazing thing. When we told him that we had you sign the Big Finish shirt, he goes, "That was 2 years ago, wasn't it? It was
Yeah,
here
he
2 years ago.
remembered
2 years ago now, wasn't it?" We were like, "Yeah."
Yep.
Which that was cool. He got real tickled too about we joked on the podcast the one time about Night of the Doctor and the fact that I figured it out, and he said, "What?" And I said, "Well, we got you for the one movie, and then they realized how awesome you were, and that they couldn't let Whovians have that much awesome, so we had to scale it back and had to take you away, and then 16 years later, we were allowed to have 6 more minutes of you because it was that awesome." I said, "I don't know if you heard it across the pond, but there was a pretty collective squee over here, and it still hasn't stopped." And he had the biggest grin on his face during the whole time of that. So that was he dug that. He laughed pretty hard. So I appreciate that. But Billy showed up. She was there was apparently some drama. She was sick. They got the message. What did you say?
Wednesday, yeah.
She apparently came down with the flu and didn't think she was going to be able to make it. And then Shaun got sick. From the news.
The news.
And then apparently she said, "It's screwed, I'm coming anyway." So there have been several, I hope I get infected by Rose Tyler tweets that I've seen going around.
Yeah, it would be a while. And we were standing there in line for Paul McGann's autograph, as a matter of fact. We were standing in line for his autograph. We heard someone across the hall from us say, it would be my pleasure to be infected by Billy Piper. It's like, really?
So a word to the World Health Organization, if you're out there,
It's all Billy Piper's
the
fault.
Center for Disease Control. If there's a sudden outbreak from Los Angeles that the flu virus starts flooding across airports, it's Billy's fault. So
That was a good panel.
she
to
looked
see.
a little. I don't know. Did you think she looked a little out of it? Because she kind of kept,
cuddling up
and
Very.
whatever she was wearing. That I couldn't tell if she was really out of it or if she was just
on drugs. She's probably on cold medicine.
Wait, was she out of it or was she out of it?
But she did get to
Although,
talk about her interaction with the war doctor.
Yeah, with John Hurt.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah. Although Fraser Hines had mentioned on the panel that he and Arthur Darvill were the only 2 male companions to show their legs. But that's not true because Turlo was in a Speedo.
That's true.
I think somebody on set said that. They said, "What about Turlo?" And they said, "Oh, it doesn't count because of this. We're the only ones that wore skirts or something to that effect." But
The skirt.
Yeah,
I figured
if
if you adjust it to they're the only ones who wore skirts.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to include Mark Strickson in that group of
Showing
male
the legs
companions
off.
who have shown their legs. Now, I don't even think that's true because we did get a few shots of Captain Jack, didn't we? When his clothes got evaporated.
Yeah.
That's true.
Pretty sure we saw some of his legs.
Yeah.
Frasier, I think you're full of it. I think we're just going to have to call shenanigans on that whole claim there.
Yeah.
Chrissy will let us know. Chrissy will defend him. She's like, "No, Frasier's the only one that ever
She
showed his
will.
legs. He's the only set of legs she'll remember
Well-
anyway."
Well, he did say him and Arthur Darvill.
Yeah.
So
Oh, but Chrissy will say it was just Frasier. Just say Frasier. Frasier's calves. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
true.
And then after
Sarah would remember Arthur Darvill's legs.
poor Mark Turner, yeah, he did. Yeah. Mark Strickson, someone's remember his legs. After we got done with that panel, we continued to sit there and listen to Colin Baker's panel. So, and that's where I totally gained some more appreciation for Colin as the Sixth Doctor.
It's an interesting love-hate relationship with Sylvester McCoy, it seems like.
I think that's evident in the Five-ish Doctor.
I mean, they're good friends, and they can josh and carry on, but there's also a little bit of an edge there. Just enough of a poke the bear with a stick kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's about like with Katie Manning and Nicole. They were poking at each other on the panel too.
Yeah, they were a little bit. It was all good fun though. I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Colin, I thought, gave an amazing interview, and we saw Tony Lee, who's conducting the interview.
Shaun leans over at me. He goes, "That's the guy I was trying to see last year, and I could never get him to sit still."
So now you know why you can't find Tony Lee at any of the. He's never at his table.
Never at his
because
table.
he's up there interviewing Colin Baker. Is how that works. And by that stage of the evening, Mel and I were pretty tuckered out. I think we were ready to.
Food.
Yeah, we got a one-track mind there. You stayed around for Toby.
For Toby Haydock, my stepson stole my sonic screwdriver. Yeah.
And how was it?
It was really funny.
Something you'll be buying on DVD once it's released down the road. I mean, does it rank up there with Bill Cosby himself and who's your favorite comedian? Jeff Foxworthy. I don't know. I'm throwing comedians out left and right.
Really,
She doesn't do comedians.
not really. But this was Doctor Who themed comedy, so
Therefore it's different.
There you go.
Yeah.
So overall, good first day.
Good first day.
Tired but good tired.
Yes.
What's your plans tomorrow? You getting the autographs, doing the pictures.
I think I'm gonna try and get the companion autographs at least, because I think, well, like I said, I'm waiting for Paul McGann. Getting my photo with Paul McGann before I get him to sign anything, so that way I can just do
Walk through.
one walk through his line. So, yeah.
Sounds good.
That's the other thing.
Because I did the same thing with Colin. I waited till I had gotten my photo taken with him, although that was more of a sense of, I'm not sure I can handle meeting him right now, but I had the photo op booked, so I knew I had to meet him then, so I spent some time, because there was a food court on the show floor, so I spent some time at a table where I could see him at his table.
You were a stalker?
No,
She stalked Colin Baker.
A bit. So I sat there at the table, kind of getting mentally prepared for.
See, at least you had that. I didn't have that with Paul McGann. I about passed out after I had a hug with him and about died. And it was like, oh, Paul McGann, please.
So I spent time on Thursday afternoon mentally preparing to meet Colin Baker. So
that's good advice. I really think that's good advice for people. Chrissy,
mentally prepared to meet your favorite celebrities.
So, just to clarify, Michelle thinks it's a good idea to hide inside the mailbox across the street from where they live and just kind of scope it out because you have an excuse. You're going to meet them at the con next week, and you can rummage through their garbage.
I don't think all that detail was in there.
No, just because he was in an open area because you could see him from the show floor
so you can spy on him in public.
That works. That's better than.
Yes, I'm twisting her words, making it worse than it is.
Yeah, but
you should have known that was coming. You've listened to the show.
I should have. But yeah. So
you've got Paul tomorrow, and then we've got a couple of panels that we're going to be doing.
We've got
I should say doing. We're not We're not on any panels.
We're not on. We're just
which I'm kind of torn on. And there's a part of me that really kind of misses that from last year because it was such a fun experience that. We sit around and do the podcast, and according to my mother, there's thousands of people listening to us, and so you kind of get that gratification of knowing somebody's listening. But it's different when there's a room full of people,
when you can see the
and you can see them, and they're listening to you, and you say something, and they're nodding their heads or they're shaking, and you're like, oh, well, it's a little different.
Well, I did some panels at Reverse Polarity, the Doctor Who podcast I went to at the beginning of last November. So I did those two panels, and I noticed as the panels, the more I did, the more comfortable I got, and the more I talked. I didn't talk as the first one was the 5th Doctor panel on Saturday, and I did some, but not as much. And then by the my third one, which was the Science of Doctor Who, I was just
blabbing
blabbing.
away.
It's easy once you get loosened up.
Yeah.
But I kind of miss not doing that this year. But at the same time, I kind of enjoyed having a little bit more of a relaxed schedule and knowing that we can just do this. And
I've enjoyed being able to leisurely get our autographs. And
well, it sounds weird to say that because today was really our front loaded.
Yeah.
Let's get everything done that we can.
But you know what? I didn't. This being the third year out, it wasn't okay. Get out of my way. I got to get here. I was standing there in line, and they goofed up something with Colin Baker's autograph line and said, well, you got to do this. And then they changed it and said, okay, no, if you did this, you got to do this. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to get his autograph or get my picture taken with him. That's what it was, his picture. So I'm like,
And well, I think this year, because all of the guests are in the dealer's room signing, which I thought when I first saw that, I was like, oh, this is going to be a disaster. Because the dealer's room's packed enough as it is. Cramming more people in there to get autographs. Really, it's gone very well.
The only thing that was a little weird is when they get your froggy photo, they dumped you into the dealer's room, and you're like...
That, I think, is a mistake. Because you exit the photo studio into the back. You part through the curtains, and you're in the dealer's room. So now you're stuck in the dealer's room. You have to get back out again. That's the only thing that I think is a little weird about it. All of the stuff, and even the kind of goof that they made with the photo lines, they had that worked out, and they remedied it pretty quickly. I think they've done a really outstanding job keeping kind of the traffic flow going, and whereas in previous years we've kind of felt like we've had to run all over the convention hall to get from point A to point B to point C, putting it all in that dealer's room kind of has focused everything, and I think it's actually been pretty easy to get through it.
I've not been...
Arthur and Billy are right across from each other, their tables.
Yeah.
Yep.
Separate lines, so you still have to get...
Separate lines, but they're right there, so you can go from one to from getting one's autographed and straight to the other one's line.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
So... We'll see tomorrow how that works. But
I'm looking forward to it.
Other than the Colin Baker photo line, which we were in initially, which that was kind of there was a huge cluster while they were getting that fixed, and then they fixed it. And then we waited, I don't know what, maybe 15 minutes for Paul McGann this time out to get his autograph? Maybe 20?
Yeah.
It wasn't very long. So those are the two longest lines we've stood in? Yeah. This is so far has been a piece of cake here. So
like I said, this has been a cakewalk compared to the last 2 years.
Maybe it's just that we're more seasoned. And we know
and I'm wondering if that's not it. Is that because we've been here the third year out, and I'm like comfortable with it and not freaking out over, oh my God, I got to get this done. Oh my God, that squirrel shiny look at this and look at that. I mean, I'm still doing that. You walk down the corridor.
I know, you walk down the dealer's room like, oh that and that.
And then you see the headless robot walking down the aisle. Like, oh, wow, come here, stop. And the cosplaying this year has been amazing.
I know. We already saw someone dressed as Capaldi and got a picture.
There's been a lot of war doctors.
A lot of war doctors.
Which I kind of expected, but...
I've seen two. The one that I got the picture of.
There's one here in the hotel. He was coming on the elevator when we were getting off earlier. And he said he'd be around tomorrow, so I got to look for him. And then you're right. There's been. I'm glad you flagged him because we'll get a photo that posted.
I saw him. It was in the companion panel. I saw he was like just in the row behind me. I'm like, gotta get a picture of him. Gotta get a picture of him. And then you were right there when I was like gonna get the picture. And it's like, you got a better camera than my iPad. May as well get Shaun to take the picture. So, and I actually got in on that picture because I was wearing my TARDIS dress at the time.
Yeah.
So TARDIS Doctor made sense.
And we saw him at LobbyCon, but he was a little too quick for me. I didn't have the camera quite ready, and he was gone. I was like, oh, well, okay, I'll catch up with him later. So I'm glad.
And then,
you
I flagged him, and then I flagged the guy dressed as Peter Capaldi, and I actually had to chase you down because you were like, gone. Well, and then I was expecting you to come up on the outside aisle, but then you crossed over to the other aisle, and I'm like, no, you need here. So I had to chase you down to
I'm sorry.
get the picture.
I tend to have my blinders on. Because I am easily distracted by squirrels that I have to focus on things.
I think the plan for us tomorrow is to get pictures and do a couple panels.
Yeah, I think that's really, now that we've got kind of the shopping part of it done, I have a couple other things.
Yeah.
We're going to spend tomorrow. We're going to talk to the people from Tiny Rebel Games about Doctor Who Legacy because I tracked them down. And we're going to do a couple panels, and we're going to just take photos of everybody and maybe put something together. Hopefully, get to talk to John Levine, knocks on wood, and more surprises. So, anything else first day? All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap it up here. For Traveling the Vortex, we have special correspondent Michelle.
Bye.
We have Mel.
Bye, guys.
And I'm Shaun, signing off from Gallifrey 1. Night, everybody.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.